They fed off of each other. They fed off of the drugs, and they fed off of simply being teenagers.
They cooked up this scheme to pour out the violent fantasies.
They talked about acting out some of the parts of the movie Natural Born Killers.
Told me a story about how her and her new boyfriend, Ben Daryus, they went around town. They
On
shot
May
a store
28,
clerk down in
1995, in Muskogee, Oklahoma, police pick up 21-year-old Patrick Williams for questioning about an outstanding warrant. But he has something else on his mind. The love of his life, Sarah Edmonson, ended their 4-year relationship and has a new boyfriend she's bragging about. Williams wants revenge.
That's Sarah. She's such a witch. They're going around town talking about how they killed a guy down in Louisiana.
He told the arresting officer that Sarah Edmonson had told him about a robbery that she had done in Louisiana, and said that she did this along with her new boyfriend, Ben.
Killed a guy down in Louisiana? Shouldn't be arresting me, arrest them. She's the one who did something wrong. Her and that.
The information was transmitted to the law enforcement authorities in Louisiana.
But that's not enough for Williams, who is bitter that the woman he still loves ran off with her new man. He's so determined to make trouble for them that he also makes numerous calls to the Louisiana police.
I was sitting at a desk and one of the officers walked in and said, "Would you talk to this man on the phone?" He's saying that there was a murder in Louisiana that his girlfriend had committed. The caller told me that his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend had come to Mardi Gras. And while they were down here, they committed a crime.
Mardi Gras had been 3 months earlier. Deputy Pritchett hadn't heard of any unsolved murders in New Orleans, but he had a case involving a mystery woman. The sheriff's office had been helping to investigate an incident at a convenience store in Ponchatoula, which had been caught on tape.
Hello, yeah. I'm at the time saver. This woman's been shot. You gotta hurry. I mean, she's really hurt bad. The surveillance camera showed an individual that walked into the convenience store wearing a striped jacket with a hood on, producing a weapon and pointed it at the clerk. Fired around, striking the clerk. The subject then left.
A minute later, the shooter was back.
The subject went around behind the counter.
She punched the necessary keys, got into the register, took some money, and left.
The victim, 35-year-old Paty Buyers, had been shot in the throat and critically injured.
Neurosurgeon come out and told me there's nothing to do. What was done, the damage was done is done, and she was going to be a quadriplegic.
When the suspect came back in the store the second time, she looked down at her and said,
"Aren't you dead yet?"
and asked how to get into the register. She told her what keys to punch, and she opened the register and took money.
And that was pretty significant in our case, trying to figure out, what type of person we were dealing with.
Patsy said she just played dead, hoping she wouldn't get shot again.
We didn't know exactly if our suspect was, if not local, was regional, or maybe even tri-state. We weren't sure. So we were able to get some media help. We gave them photographs of the surveillance tape in order to maybe see if we could get some response to that.
Police followed up numerous leads.
Everything that we had, we'd investigate. Nothing concrete.
We were basically back at that point where we didn't have anything new. The case was growing kind of cold.
Until Patrick Williams picks up the phone 3 months later.
So I asked him, "Well, do you have a picture of this girl?" He said, "Yes, I do have. I have a good picture." I said, "Well, is it possible for you to fax it to us?" The figure in the picture was so similar to the hooded shooter in the Paty Buyers case. I was just astounded. This is the person. I mean, it was a perfect match.
The prime suspect is now 18-year-old Sarah Edmonson, but she has powerful friends.
The chief, he said, "You're not going to believe this. This is a politically connected suspect."
Sarah was the daughter of Jim Edmonson, who at the time was a district judge here in Muskogee County. Her uncle is Drew Edmonson, who is the Oklahoma Attorney General. Her grandfather, Ed Edmonson, was a congressman. Her great uncle, J. Howard Edmonson, was also a senator and one-time governor.
Armed with arrest warrants from Louisiana, investigators head for the Edmonson home and tell Sarah's shocked mother, Suzanne, what's going on.
We questioned her about who Ben was, and she told us that it was Ben Daryus, Sarah's boyfriend, and that they had taken a road trip and had been down in Louisiana.
Investigators want to find the gun.
Sarah had told Patrick that she had used a .38 caliber gun that she got from a lake cabin that belonged to her father. She said that she had put the gun back in the cabin.
Sarah's father is called home.
Judge Edmonson retrieved the gun from under the mattress.
Federal and local investigators are told where the two suspects can be found, but as a courtesy to the judge, agree to delay their arrest.
Ben and Sarah had gone to an amusement park in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the evening that the police came to arrest them. Judge Edmonson convinced the police not to go take a SWAT team to Tulsa and, ruin everybody's fun there at the amusement park.
We waited out in the car, out in front of the residence.
In May of 1995, the FBI and police in Muskogee, Oklahoma, have been waiting for suspected armed robbers Ben Daryus and Sarah Edmonson to return to her home. They've agreed to let Edmondson's father, a respected judge, speak to her.
Don't be afraid. There are police officers here to arrest you for the robbery and attempted murder of a store clerk down in Louisiana. Ben will be arrested as an accomplice. You have the right to have an attorney present with you
He
during
assured
questioning.
us
Your
that
mother and I
she
have
would
taken
go
care of that.
cooperatively and that we didn't need a SWAT team or anything.
Edmonson and Daryus faced charges of illegally using a firearm and attempted second-degree murder while committing an armed robbery in Louisiana 3 months earlier.
Sarah declined to talk to us and did not make any statements.
Well, we went to Sarah's parents' cabin.
Unlike Sarah, Ben has a lot to say, starting with events 3 days before the convenience store shooting of Paty Buyers.
Ben had told me that he and Sarah had spent some time at Judge Edmonson's lake cabin near Tahlequah and took some drugs, to include marijuana, ecstasy, and some LSD. And while there, they watched some movies.
According to Ben's version of events, they drove to Destin, Florida, in the hope of meeting some of Sarah's friends. But they didn't hook up, and instead headed for New Orleans and Mardi Gras.
And they had ran out of money.
Pretty long night when we had been traveling. And
Any loyalty to his girlfriend swiftly evaporates.
Ben had told us Sarah had suggested that they rob a convenience store. And from that point, they started looking for one to rob, and they came across the store in Ponchatoula that was somewhat secluded.
we stopped there. She goes inside with a gun, and I had thought...
During the interview, myself and the FBI agent, Ben had put all the blame on Sarah. This was all her idea. Ben told us that he let Sarah out of the car.
I forgot the money. I have to go back in and get it.
Don't go back in.
I have to go back in.
Sarah had forgotten the money and went back into the store.
Or five. I got the money.
Okay, let's get out of here.
And I couldn't believe it. I was ready to get out of there.
Daryus tells police he and Sarah drove around the Southwest before returning.
We got the impression that Ben was leaving out something about the trip. It was more or less a gut feeling, but we felt like that he was leaving out a stop along the way somewhere.
In an unusual move, Sarah's legal team convinces a retired special judge that she should be released from jail and instead admitted to a Tulsa psychiatric hospital for evaluation. She is granted bail, set at $50,000. This could delay her extradition to Louisiana. Investigators explore her past.
For all practical purposes, her childhood was as normal as apple pie. Girl Scouts, brownies, dance. Her mother took her to those kinds of activities any little girl would be taken to, and just seemed like a perfect childhood growing up in Muskogee.
Her grandfather, whom she was close to, died when she was 14. She reacted badly to that. She reacted badly to deaths of some friends. One had committed suicide, a couple others were in car accidents. She started taking drugs and hanging out with people you wouldn't expect. To react to people's deaths by completely changing your environment to something dark and bleak is clearly indicative of a pretty severe depression.
Sarah's behavior becomes more erratic. She burned and cut her arms and legs.
People who cut themselves are often doing the physical act of trying to get away from emotional pain, where you're drawing the attention away from the emotional pain.
Sarah's parents suffered through a long history of alienation between her and them.
I don't have much good to say about myself in terms of parenting.
In desperation, the Edmondsons sent Sarah to a rehab hospital for drug and alcohol abuse. She was only 15. There was relief for her parents when she graduated and started junior college. But then, more trouble. After just 3 weeks, she'd had enough. For 4 years, Edmondson had been dating Patrick Williams, but it had been a volatile relationship. He was obsessed with her.
They had had a real hot and cold relationship over a period of years that actually resulted in it going so bad that Sarah's parents had to get a restraining order against Patrick. According to her father and others who knew her, she liked to hang out with social pariahs. She accepted those people.
The relationship ended badly. After a brief stint as a waitress, Edmondson enrolled at a small college in Tahlequah, 25 miles from Muskogee. Patrick Williams continued to pursue her. But Edmondson fell for someone new, also with a troubled past, Ben Daryus. In 1995, Sarah Edmondson and Ben Daryus have been extradited to Louisiana in connection with the attempted murder of a convenience store clerk during an armed robbery. Police learned Daryus had grown up in a working-class family in Ada, Oklahoma, the middle child of 5, and the product of a broken home.
We have his parents divorcing, apparently getting back together, divorcing a second time.
Ben's father, who was an alcoholic, committed suicide when he was 13. There were some eerie parallels between the lives of Ben and Sarah in their early teenage years. Ben had trouble in school. He dropped out of high school and ended up playing in a rock band.
In 1993, the Daryus family moved from Ada, Oklahoma to Tahlequah, 2 years before Sarah Edmondson arrived. The teens met at an off-campus party house.
Kids like to get together and drink and smoke pot, and that's where they met, and that's where they became friends and ultimately lovers.
For Ben, it was love at first sight with a girl he considered a tomboy.
They can sense right away that person stands out. That person is like me. There's a mirror effect, and they gravitate toward each other. Like, I can do something with you in a way that I can't with anybody else.
Sarah was his second girlfriend ever, and he was terrifically enamored of her, fell in love with her.
The love affair proved a distraction. Just 2 months after starting college, Sarah quit her studies yet again. 2 weeks after being released on bail and with Edmondson's psychiatric evaluation complete, the teenagers are extradited to Louisiana. Waiting for her are a separate team of defense lawyers. She's indicted on charges of attempted second-degree murder, armed robbery, and the use of a firearm during a violent crime. Daryus is indicted on the single charge of armed robbery. In Mississippi, a lawyer says that he represents someone willing to solve an outstanding murder case there, but won't reveal any further details unless his client is granted immunity from prosecution.
I felt the granting of immunity at the time was a necessary evil. I don't like granting immunity.
The deal is done, and the star witness is Sarah Edmondson.
Once the immunity agreement was reached, the local defense lawyer that was representing Sarah, he provided information on where she was, who she was, and investigators from our office immediately left and went to Louisiana to interview her.
Daryus never mentioned any incident in Mississippi when he spoke to investigators, but Edmonson is prepared to reveal what he's trying to hide.
It just pretty much confirmed my suspicions of what I had about Ben leaving out stuff during our interview with him.
At first, Edmonson's version of events seems similar to her boyfriend's.
Sarah stayed the night prior to coming to Mississippi. She and Daryus stayed at her family cabin. While at the cabin, they also watched the movie Natural Born Killer. Before leaving the cabin the following morning, they retrieved a pistol owned by Sarah's father, along with a partial box of cartridges.
Edmonson claimed she took the gun for possible protection against Ben, because the night before, he choked her while they had sex. In his initial statement to police, Ben claimed they headed for Florida, but he lied.
They talked about coming to Memphis to a Grateful Dead concert.
They arrived a day too early and instead headed for New Orleans, crossing the state line into Mississippi.
Sarah stated that they got off in Hernando to get gas.
They were running out of cash. Edmonson says it was Ben, not she, who suggested they rob somebody. They pulled into a cotton processing facility.
Get out and act real angelic.
Okay.
And we walked in, and he asked for directions.
Excuse me, can you help me get to I-55?
Yeah, you can go down this street here about a couple miles.
And the shots were fired.
Sarah, get the wallet.
We have to go!
Sarah, get the wallet.
We have to go!
Get the wallet now!
Bill was a very, very kind man. He had a wife and 2 daughters. He was very family-oriented, very hard-working man.
Mr. Savage was discovered by an insurance salesman who had gone by the office to visit him on the afternoon of March the 7th, 1995.
I wake up every morning, my hand's on his pillow. I'm looking for him.
It was pretty obvious from the scene that he had been surprised.
Police discovered his wallet was missing, but have no clues about his killer's identity.
He had no beefs with anybody. So we began to feel that this was going to be somebody from out of town. And I remember several times during the course of the investigation, we used the term drifters.
That was such a rush. Did you see that guy's face when I killed him? Did you hear him? All the noises he was making.
I was under his spell. He kept telling me we were...
Sarah tells investigators they drove on to New Orleans and checked into a cheap motel.
part of that guy's brains on my shoe. His blood is on my jeans. I did all that.
The murder had brought them just $200 found in Mr. Savage's wallet. Daryus wanted a macabre souvenir, a piece of his own blood-spattered clothing. According to Edmonson, her lover made it clear they were as bad as each other.
I think you're ready. I think you can do this. We're partners in this, right?
Yeah. And I was scared, but I felt like I had
They left New Orleans and stopped at the convenience store in Ponchatoula, Louisiana.
All right, Sarah. Go in there, just flash it.
Edmonson tells the investigators she was a reluctant armed robber, scared for her own life.
She blamed Ben for everything that happened. According to her, none of this was her idea.
I felt like I had to do this or he would hurt me.
She did not want any of it to happen. She only committed the robbery and shooting at the convenience store in Louisiana because Ben forced her to, basically.
She's trying to blame it on anybody, anything but herself. She doesn't want to say, I did this, I'm guilty.
Told me the plan, gonna go in there.
Sarah Edmonson has revealed to investigators that her lover, Ben Daryus, killed and robbed a man in Mississippi and enjoyed doing it, even keeping a piece of blood-smeared clothing as a souvenir. Daryus, though, admits nothing about the murder.
Ben told investigators that he had not even been with Sarah in Hernando, Mississippi when William Savage was murdered. That Sarah was the one who wore the pants in their relationship. It was Sarah who directed all of the operations. It was Sarah's gun that they had taken from the cabin. It was Sarah's car they were in.
Who is the leader and who followed depends on who you ask. And that will be true of almost every killing couple you'll ever meet. It depends on who you ask. Some people said it had to be Sarah. She was the stronger one of the two. Sarah said it was Ben. People who knew Ben said it couldn't have been Ben. People who knew Sarah said it couldn't have been Sarah.
A month after their arrest, Paty Buyers files a lawsuit against Daryus and Edmonson, seeking compensation.
The lawsuit was brought based on the negligence of both Sarah and Ben in plotting this robbery and shooting her.
When she come there and shot me, she killed Paty Buyers. And I think I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. I think she should be behind bars for the rest of her life.
She was going to be paralyzed the rest of her life. She really didn't want to live. And that was tough for all of us, but, you know. She told me she'd rather be dead than to live paralyzed. And that's tough on me.
She was paralyzed from the neck down as a result of the gunshot wounds that were inflicted on her by Sarah Edmonson. She had small children to care for. She had a husband. An injury like that creates so many other problems in their life. She had to have special transportation, special vehicles to travel in, plus special wheelchairs and things of that nature. The whole community was in shock over this for months and months and months.
Edmonson's parents are also named in the lawsuit.
They had left a gun at the camp, and their daughter had been in enough previous trouble to where they should have not had a firearm available to her.
Edmonson has lawyers in 3 states looking after her interests. Ben Daryus decides there's another way to avoid life behind bars. He plans to escape from his cell in Tangipahoa. In October 1995, he makes his bid for freedom.
And so one day I got a call from the parish prison, said that he and 2 more prisoners had tried to escape, and that they had managed to get in the ductwork or in the walls or something. And so I sent one of the detectives up there, and he found a lot of damage they had done. So he was charged with some additional things. He had a little smirk on his face all the time.
5 months after their arrest, prosecutors decide Edmonson and Daryus will first stand trial in Louisiana. Edmonson had admitted shooting Paty Buyers to Mississippi prosecutors under her immunity deal to reveal who killed Bill Savage.
If I were sober, I never would have left Oklahoma.
Her legal team was confident the statement could never be used against her. But Louisiana prosecutors take a different view.
Well, it was in effect a confession. I mean, a very powerful form of evidence that we can use in our prosecution. And that's where the legal battling began. Were we as Louisiana prosecutors bound by the grant of immunity given by the Mississippi prosecutors?
The immunity statement also leads to a major new twist in the Paty Buyers civil case, when the makers of a Hollywood movie are added as defendants.
Sarah gave a statement in which she stated that they ingested LSD, alcohol, and watched the movie Natural Born Killers several times, and that did contribute to their violent crime spree. The suit was against 4 or 5 different entities from Hollywood, but Oliver Stone was the primary defendant. He makes great movies, but this particular one portrayed violence to an extent that we thought that we might be able to put a damper on this type of violent behavior.
They talked about acting out some of the parts of that movie, particularly committing a killing spree.
Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis portrayed Mickey and Mallory, a couple who go on a killing spree.
We decided to bring the lawsuit because we thought from a moral standpoint, Natural Born Killers glorified violence. We thought that it conveyed a message to young people that crime did pay.
You have somebody watching the film who's taking drugs. Mickey and Mallory are taking drugs, we're taking drugs, we're going on a road trip, we're going to do what they did, we're going to have the freedom they had, no one's going to catch us.
Edmonson and Daryus had watched the film many times before the shootings. Quadriplegic Paty Buyers, now also suffering from cancer, agrees to provide a videotaped statement to prosecutors outlining how she was shot by Sarah Edmonson.
She was too sick to give the deposition because she had cancer, and since she had no feeling in her body, she could not feel pain, and it spread completely throughout her body.
The day before she's due to testify, Paty Buyers dies in the hospital. She was just 38.
Patsy was really a wonderful person. I loved her very much. She was very outgoing in sports, loved her kids. You know, she always took care of her kids. She would get into things, and for it could be a garden, anything, and anything she got into, she just went for it for gusto, and then and then she'd get into something else. But that's the way she lived her life. And when she got her little job, she thought that was the best thing that ever happened in this world. Patsy hated Sarah Edmonson, I can tell you that. She never wanted to see her walk the street again.
Finally, after a 3-year battle, during which Edmonson's legal team has done all it can to prevent her incriminating statement from being used against her, the highest court in Louisiana is ready to announce its decision. In 1998, after a 3-year legal battle, a final ruling is made on whether Louisiana prosecutors can use Sarah Edmondson's statement in which she admits shooting Paty Buyers, a statement given under an immunity deal.
That argument went up to the Louisiana Supreme Court. We argued that at the Supreme Court and ultimately got a decision that we could use the statement. We didn't give her immunity, the Mississippi DA did. We should be able to use it here. We shouldn't be bound by that Mississippi DA's granting of immunity. The Supreme Court ultimately ruled in our favor.
Soon after, Ben Daryus strikes his own deal with Mississippi prosecutors to avoid a possible death sentence, and finally admits shooting Bill Savage in return for a life sentence.
We met with Bill Savage's wife and the family, and we gave them all the options that we had as far as going to trial. And we felt like this was the best option, and they agreed with us to have a resolution and to everybody get this behind them.
However, prosecutors agreed to delay formal sentencing until after Daryus testifies against Edmonson in Louisiana. 3 months later, Edmonson changes her plea to avoid a possible maximum sentence of 149 years.
Now, she did that after many years of arguing about the admissibility of her Mississippi statement, but ultimately she did plead guilty to armed robbery and attempted murder.
In 1998, Edmonson is sent to prison for 35 years.
And we were disappointed. We felt the 35-year sentence given to Sarah Edmonson was extremely low.
Ben Daryus strikes another plea deal. To avoid a possible additional 99-year sentence in Louisiana, he agrees to plead guilty in return for an identical sentence to Edmonson.
Ben was guilty of the same crime as Sarah Edmonson, armed robbery and attempted murder. Even though he didn't go in the store, he was still under our law of principle and just as guilty as Sarah Edmonson. But factually, Sarah Edmonson went in the store, pulled the trigger, shot Paty Buyers. I felt it was just patently unfair that Sarah Edmonson would receive the identical sentence that Ben Daryus did.
On her deathbed, despite her terrible injuries, Paty Buyers had shown compassion by asking prosecutors to go easy on Sarah Edmonson.
If there was something real significant out of this case that I can recall, out of the several homicides and shootings that I've worked in my career, it's pretty amazing to me that a victim laying in a hospital, paralyzed, not knowing whether she's going to live or die, had the deep feelings of, even though what's happened to her being shot by Sarah, that she didn't want to hold a grudge against her. I don't want her to spend the rest of her life in jail, but maybe sometime down the road after she serves her time, that she can get out at a relatively young age and be more productive in life and realize what she did to me and my family. So she just wanted her to have another chance to make something of her life, even though she'd done something horribly wrong.
Bill Savage was more than just a victim to John Champion.
Well, I'm married to his niece. We'd been married about 2 years at the time that Bill was murdered. Had a wife and 2 daughters. He was very family-oriented. Family was always first with him. He was very community-oriented. He was very hard-working man, always had been. He was one of the kindest men that you would ever meet, and do anything for anybody.
Ben Daryus will spend the rest of his life in prison. Sarah Edmondson's immunity deal meant she could never be punished for her role in the Mississippi robbery and murder. Meanwhile, the debate over whether a movie encouraged their violent acts continues.
Oliver Stone didn't want to incite violence with this movie. He wanted to show how much our society glorifies and glamorizes violence and makes violent people into celebrities.
In June 2002, a Louisiana appeals court effectively rules there is to be no financial compensation for the Buyers family. A judge rejects claims that Natural-Born Killers was obscene and incited violence. The First Amendment right to free speech proved a key consideration.
You can't say that it's only the violent films that are provoking violent incidents. We also have films that are not violent doing the same thing because it's about how an individual processes it. Ben and Sarah are not natural-born killers. A lot of the making has to do with the environment in which they're exposed, the way they process that environment, and the kinds of decisions they make along the way.
Millions of people watched Natural-Born Killers, and they didn't go out and kill anybody. So I think you can strike that one from the list. Millions of people take drugs and drink alcohol and don't kill people. I think you can strike that one from the list. Many people have difficult childhoods and backgrounds, and they don't go and kill people. So I think you can strike that one from the list. What does that leave? You tell me.
Ben Daryus is currently incarcerated at Mississippi State Penitentiary. In an internet blog, he describes the suggestion that natural-born killers led to the crime spree as simply an invention by Edmonson's legal team.
The movie didn't influence me to do anything.
Daryus says he's now a changed man, a devout Christian involved in programs to assist other prisoners and prevent teen violence. Sarah Edmondson is held in the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women. The former college dropout has helped other inmates earn their high school equivalency diplomas. With good time served, she is eligible for release in July 2010.
The shooting of William Savage, the shooting of Paty Buyers were completely unnecessary, mean, hateful acts.
There isn't any way to predict what actually can happen when two people with violent tendencies meet and affirm those violent tendencies. It depends on the degree of psychopathy, and it depends on the criminal sophistication. The idea of Ben feeling thrilled over the power of killing another person and feeling as if he now has control and he's more of a man, that was very exciting to him. Sarah Edmondson was clearly influenced by Ben Daryus. I don't think she would have killed another person without Ben being an instigating factor.
Was it the drugs? Was it their upbringing? Was it alcohol? Was it the chemistry between the two? I think there may just be a kernel of evil in some people, and it's just that simple.